What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 25 of the 4Y podcast. As always, I am your host, Michael Bish, and my co-host, my man. Is he here? Hello?
I'm here,
Hello?
but I'm not seeing nothing.
I'm
not even seeing you, bro. What's going
bro,
on? You don't want to be okay. All
I
right,
was just,
all right.
I was just waiting for the grand entrance, bro.
Gotcha. Okay,
It's
all
all
right.
good, man. What are you wearing?
Old school.
I don't know how old school that is. What's that?
I mean, that's that Chip Ganassi racing Kyle Larson number 42. All
Okay.
right, that's where the career began.
Old school.
Ooh, okay. I mean, Michael Jackson's better, but
No argument. I'm just saying, man. No argument. So what's up, man? How was the weekend?
It was good. Saw you this weekend, obviously. Eli's first baseball game. So that was cool.
It was. I think the craziest thing about that was I pulled up and it took me I was like, oh shit, he is doing coach's pitch now.
Yeah, that's something that we're getting
different story.
Trying to get used to. It's definitely different, man. But Eli has a good swing, man. It's just got to make contact with that ball, and when he does, that thing is going to go pretty far. So we've been working on that this week. Going to work on it tomorrow. He has a game on Thursday, which I'm liking that. Right, like last year, all the games were on Saturdays, but this year, outside of last week, the games are going to be on Thursdays. And it's kind of like, I understand Thursday, middle of the week, whatever. It's kind of like, you're just trying to make it to Friday, but Thursday's Friday Eve, right?
You get your weekend back. Not saying that you don't want to hang out with your son on Saturday. I'm just saying that'll give y'all free up the weekend to give y'all to do more stuff.
100%. So yeah. What about you, bro? How was your weekend?
It was good, man. Obviously went to the game. It was interesting. I was wondering what y'all were doing as far as when it came to the rain, because when I remember back when I played, they just canceled it. I like the fact that y'all were out there playing in the rain, playing in the mud. Whose decision was it to keep going? Did anybody ever?
It's the rec. Yeah. So the rec has they have people there at every game, and I guess they're the ones they're making sure that the rules are being followed, and weather, what have you. So I will say this: the rain started about 3 minutes after the game started. Now, had that been a little different, had it started raining maybe 10 minutes before the game, I could see them possibly calling it. But because we had already started, they let the rain do its thing. We finished the game. I'm very hype about that because there's nothing like having a game canceled, especially the first game of the season, and then they have to find another day in the future to replay that game. And sometimes games don't even get replayed. So for them to allow us to get that done, let the boys play out in the rain, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I love that. All right, man, COTA. It was a hell of a race, I guess you can say. We'll obviously dive into that. Tyler Reddick from 2311 gets his first win of the year. Congratulations to you on your pick'ems. I have decided to step away from that heading forward because, oh man, it is ugly. It is ugly. So Tyler Reddick won, man. It was interesting into the race, and we'll obviously jump into that. But what was your overall view of COTA? I know this is probably one of the road courses that I enjoy most. But what was your overall review of COTA?
This was the first race that we were able to see no stage breaks. So I know that the biggest thing everybody was thinking was this whole thing's going to go green. There's not going to be a caution. And we were all wrong about that. I think we got a caution within the first 2 laps of the race, I believe. So
NASCAR was like, you know what? Hold my beer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The ending of that was pretty wild. But just looking at the race overall, I feel like a theme that we've seen so far this year in almost every race is the top maybe 3 or 4 cars that weekend are normally always up front, and they're the ones battling, right? You look at, Las Vegas and Phoenix, you had, your Kevin Harvick, your Kyle Larson, your William Byron, they were the strongest cars. They were up there all day. You look at COTA, it was basically the William Byron versus Tyler Reddick show. We had a little Kyle Busch sprinkled into that. I think overall, I know a lot of people, at least I know in our group chat, a lot of people were saying it was boring. I thought it might have been the best race of the season. Now, all those cautions at the end was definitely turning me off from it. Mm-hmm. But I would say those first, 67 laps or so, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, man, I thought it was really good. I was just curious to see how the racing was going to be in general here. Obviously, first road course of the season. And let's be honest, this season has been kind of boring. And, ever since Daytona, that's always exciting. But, I thought this race was fun. It was exciting. I thought that the stages, no yellow stages, I guess you can say, was a plus. Like, I really enjoyed that. I love the flow of the race. I love how that ended up playing itself out. That was a big concern of mine, because going into it, I was definitely one of the ones that was like, oh man, with no stage cautions, you're definitely going to have this thing kind of peel out, and these drivers are just going to dominate. And for the most part, two of them did, but I thought it was very entertaining. I really enjoyed it. The pit strategies were all, especially with the stage cautions not being there, were out to play, which I really enjoyed. It made the racing a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. But yeah, man, I think, congratulations to Tyler Reddick. He definitely deserved it. That was a hell of a interesting finish. And I think, kind of just touching on the race in general, I think it's appropriate to dive into the end of that race. That was absolutely mayhem.
It was mayhem, to say the least. And I almost feel like Tyler Reddick deserves, when
two
he got
wins.
50, two. I mean, for him to have to hold off everybody for, what was it? Was it 3 green, white checkers?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it was funny because one thing that I do like that Fox does when it comes to road courses is they put the map of the road course at the top of the screen, so you can see where the leaders are at all times, what turn they're going in, coming out of. And I swear, it seemed like every caution that came out towards the end, Tyler Reddick was like 3 or 4 turns away from getting the white flag that would have basically finished the race, and he just could not get there. We talk about it a lot. We know when it comes to road courses that if the car isn't heavily damaged and stopped on the track, or if there's no debris on the track and there is a wreck, the caution's not going to get thrown. So I want to ask you, from what we saw on those final 3 restarts, do you feel if those wrecks would have happened at lap 33 of the race, do you think the caution would have come out, or do you feel like NASCAR threw the flag to add a little more excitement towards the end?
I think at first a little bit more excitement towards the end, but like at the end of the day, it just kind of got super repetitive and like very annoying. I think at first I would say yes, absolutely. It's funny, man. Let me ask you this: it's a road course, so once somebody passes that area, the last car, they're not going to be back around for what, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes on COTA.
COTA was, if I'm not mistaken, COTA was a 2-minute lap track.
So at least 2 minutes, bro. Have somebody go out there, pick up the debris, and get out the way. You got plenty of time. That's where NASCAR kind of needs to step in and kind of like handle situations like that. But yeah, I definitely think that it was interesting, to say the least. I definitely think in the beginning they probably threw it just to be like, oh, we're gonna cause some excitement here. This is what we need, and then it just got way out of hand.
So if you look at the final, I guess it's about 15 laps, and this is me adding in the extra laps run for the green, white checkered. We had a caution at lap 61, 66, 69, and 72. So we had about 4 cautions in those last 15 laps, which technically is only a 68 lap race. So 4 cautions basically in the last 7 laps because we had to get that final lap done. I don't know. I know that some of the wrecks looked bad on TV, but at the same time, it's like the cars got going. And I mean, it almost makes you think like, does NASCAR need to add, and this might be overdoing it, but does NASCAR need to add certain areas to every road course that would allow a car to safely get off the track and basically have their day be done, right? So like you can get off the track and be able to make it back to the pits without disrupting the flow of the race, because I feel like what we saw was wrecks that happened on those last few laps because the intensity is at an all-time high. People are jockeying for position. And when the wrecks happened, everybody cleared out, but you had tire rub and stuff. And as the cars keep going with the tire rub, the tire's going to explode. And that's what we saw. We saw debris everywhere. So I almost feel like, 3 green, white checkered attempts is ridiculous, man.
Can we trust the drivers to go in to utilize something like that? I mean, because I feel like in that situation, they don't want to lose track time. So they're going to stay on the track to make sure a caution comes out.
And I think we saw that with one of the first accidents in the race with Brad Keselowski. I believe it was him and it was a couple more cars. They got into it. Brad K, I believe, got spun out. Didn't look like he hit anything outside of the other car. And he was just stopped in the middle of the track saying that he couldn't get his car going, which I'm not buying that whatsoever. I just think Brad understood, hey, the field has left me. I need a caution to come out to catch back up. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, you bring up a good point. I don't think we could trust the drivers to utilize whatever space NASCAR were to determine to allow them to get off the track, because they're competitors. They don't want their days to end. They're going to try to get the caution to come out to get their cars fixed and get back out on the track.
No, I agree 100%. Tyler Reddick gets his first win of the season. We kind of talked about it last week that he has been on a up climb, getting this 45 team in great position to win races and to compete, and he's right there at the end, and he finally was able to hold off multiple monsters. 2 things. I want to shout out Kurt Busch. I thought it was super cool that he got emotional in the booth. It just goes to show how much he misses racing, how much he means to that team in general. And then 2, shout out to Kyle Busch. I think that man raced Tyler Reddick very, very clean. I don't even think he barely bumped him. So I mean, I don't know. I just enjoyed that racing. I just always associated Kyle Busch with like making like dumb mistakes and getting angry. And then I keep hearing on Denny Hamlin's podcast, Denny's saying that Kyle Busch is one of the most respectable drivers and cleanest drivers in the garage. And I don't know if it's just the past couple of years I've kind of not paid so much attention to him, but these past few weeks, ever since I've heard him say that, it's just true. And for Kyle Busch to literally 100% stay off Tyler Reddick in all 3 of those situations, really, and not cause anything crazy, not dive bombing it in there. I mean, it's for a win, but he was definitely respectful. So that was pretty cool to see.
And you bring up a good point about Kyle Busch, because I feel like I was in that boat with you as well. It's like when you think of Kyle Busch, you think of somebody who is ultra aggressive. The main goal is to win. If he finishes second, he's not happy about it. But I really think a lot of that has come from at least us thinking that he just wrecks everybody to get the win is based off of what happened at Richmond years ago with Dale Jr., right? And of course, Junior Nation, so many fans, of course, they attack Kyle Busch for that. They continue to bring it up. But if you really look at Kyle Busch and if you really sit back and listen to Kyle Busch will tell you, I'm going to race you how you race me. And I feel like in some of the instances over his career that we've seen him get aggressive, move people out the way for the win, those were guys that didn't necessarily race him clean in the past either. But I believe that obviously him and Tyler Reddick don't have that much time on the track as opposed to a veteran like a Jimmy Johnson or somebody like that. I believe that Kyle, number one, knew Tyler Reddick had the best car on the track. And number 2 was just like, listen, man, this is how we're supposed to race. And we heard Chase Elliott talk about it, right? Chase Elliott even said after the race that he was happy to see the race and how it did, how the majority of the guys race each other clean because that's how he races. That's how he wants to be raced. So I definitely applaud Kyle Busch and all the guys up front that basically kept it clean for the most part.
I wish more NASCAR drivers had podcasts because I love Denny Hamlin's podcast. Did you happen to listen to it?
I've listened to a couple episodes.
Bro, he
He's slow to get to the point sometimes, man, and that's what's killing me. Yeah,
he drags it out. It can be a tough listen at times, but like he does. I'll tell you, dude, he doesn't hold back. Obviously, when he talked about wrecking Chastain or you're coming with me, he was honest about that, bro. He literally like this because he records it the same night of the race, like after it ends. He literally called out 4 to 5 drivers on those restarts that were. I think the term he used was "what an idiot moment." He called out Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, yeah.
He called out Suarez at all.
Ross Chastain, no, and then he touched on the Suarez Alex Bowman situation, and then to me, I thought it was Alex Bowman's fault there at the end. If you go back and look at it, it's actually Ross Chastain's fault.
What's new?
Yeah, but I didn't know that until listening to Denny's podcast and actually went back and watched the aerial review of that wreck, and Ross just nose bombed it in there, and to his credit, he did get hit behind a little bit, but like even if he didn't, he would have got up into the 48, which got up into Suarez, which got up into Martin Truex Jr. and spun him out. So, but yeah, he called him out, and he said that he carefully reviewed video, and the ones that he called out were the ones that restarted during there and dive bombed in there and kind of just played bumper cars, and the ones that did not get hit from behind that they could have used the brake.
I just want to know what in the hell happened with Bubba Wallace.
Oh, all right. I heard it was either on Denny's podcast or something else that his fuel line broke or something like that. Or his brake line broke or something.
Okay, because he went into that, and obviously I'm bringing it up because it took out Kyle Larson, blah blah blah. But like, at first you're thinking like, did he just miss the turn that bad? But it makes sense that if his brake line went out, because I mean, like he was literally going like 30 miles an hour faster than everybody else, and it just took him out, man.
He either had to happen or he had to be zoned out, or he wanted his data in. My man. There's nobody in the Cup Series harder on himself than him. Bro got out of the car.
He has to chill out, bro. He has to.
He said, "I need to be replaced."
What did he say? He was like, been in the Cup Series for 6 years, still making rookie mistakes. I need to be replaced. Like, come on, bro. Calm down, man.
The last 2 wrecks you got into were not your fault. There were mechanical issues. Like, you can't control that to it.
He is super hard on himself, man. He has to calm down. But let's take a look at the top 10 real quick. As you see, Tyler Reddick, as we talked about, he gets his first win of the season and first win for 23-11. Kyle Busch right there in second. Alex Bowman third. Ross Chastain, what a picture, fourth. William Byron fifth. And then 6 through 10, we have Austin Cindric, who, listen, in the Xfinity Series, Austin Cindric was one of the top road course racers. So it's awesome to see him be able to bring that to the Cup Series. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who got that win at Daytona at the beginning of the season, still having a strong season, finishes 7th. Chris Buescher, 8th. Ty Gibbs, 2nd straight week with the top 10. He is definitely finding his groove. And then 10th, Mr. Todd Gilliland. So that is 1 through 10. You have anybody that really sticks out to you in that 1 through 10?
Oh, damn. Chris Buescher finished top 10.
Hey,
I swear I didn't notice that until now.
Yes, sir.
I think for me, it's probably going to be just the continuation of dominance with Alex Bowman and William Byron. I feel like they're in the top 10 every week. And honestly, same with Chastain and Busch.
Yeah.
I just felt like been in it all year. And then I believe this is Ty Gibbs' second top 10 finish. So he's starting to run well as well. So that's really good to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to point out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just for the simple fact that, like, you don't really hear about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. being good on road courses, right? You hear him being pretty dominant when it comes to the super speedways, but road courses not so much. So for him to get seventh, another top 10, that's his second top 10 of the season through 6 races. I think that's awesome. And then, of course, you brought up Chris Buescher. Seeing Chris Buescher get a top 10, maybe that's going to be something that really gets this season back on track for him. I mean, well, I can't even sit here and say back on track because I believe he's top 16 in the points. He's having a pretty decent year so far, but we're just waiting to see, is he going to be able to put it together and get a win early in the season to clinch his spot in the playoffs. But it's very good to see him get that top 10 at COTA.
No, I 100% agree. Totally off topic, but NFL players just like going off on Twitter right now because they're at the owners meeting and stuff like that, and all these rules are getting passed. The NFL announced that teams can now have 2 Thursday night football games.
Very stupid, but you know why they're doing that, right?
I don't.
You know how we have the flex scheduling for Sunday night football?
Yes.
They're trying to get the flex scheduling passed for, like, if I'm not mistaken, it's like weeks 14 through 18. So basically, the reason that was passed for teams to be able to play 2 Thursday night games is because later in the season, if the team has already played earlier in the season and they get flexed, they can't complain about it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Makes sense. All right, what's next? Let's talk. First, let's talk about this is going to segue and really kind of talk about our next topic, and that's the end of this race and just how crazy it was. We talked about it. 3 green, white checkers over an hour for this race to complete after the green, white checkered, the first green, white checkered flew, or the first time we knew we were going into overtime. Man, it's just. I don't get it. I'm sorry. That track is big enough. You can do 1 lap. You can do 1 lap. You don't have to do 2 or 3 or however fuck that. It felt forever.
All right, so you have to basically break it down like this, right? If I'm not mistaken, and let me see if I can find it right now. The track is almost 3.5 miles long. Okay. Now, 3.5 miles long. If you're going to break it down into speed, and if I'm not mistaken, caution laps are at 55 or 65 miles an hour. So if you're on the interstate doing 65 is normally going to take you a little over a minute to do 1 mile. So if you're under caution, you're basically saying that you're flirting with almost 5 minutes, 1 lap of caution. As you said, that track is too big to do 2 laps. And to take it to another point, and they might have already had this and I didn't realize it, but the choose line that they have at road courses, especially of that size, they need to put the choose line like halfway on the track and let them decide that right then. Because again, there's shown to be 1 lap of caution. We don't need that many.
Especially at that speed, you're just oh man, you're just waiting. You have time to go cut your grass.
Yeah.
You got time to do all kinds of stuff. But you posed the question: should green, white checker finishes be handled differently at road courses?
100% should. And I look at it like this. I understand wanting to get a clean finish in. That's why I believe maybe 3 or 4 years ago, they changed the rule of green, white checkers where it's no longer you get 1 or 2 attempts. It's you get as many attempts as possible to get it done. But at road courses, I feel like they should do it like this. You get 1 green, white checkered attempt. If you have a caution, the next green flag is the final lap. And I honestly think that's going to force NASCAR's hand, right? I don't think that you're going to see NASCAR, if that's the final lap, you're not going to see NASCAR throw in the yellow because that would mean that the race is over. I think they're going to allow them to run that final lap. You don't think so? I can't hear you.
No, I agree 100%. And we're going to touch on that in just a second. We're going to take a 15-second break because my laptop's about to die.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. All right, bro. I'm back, man. Back.
You good?
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Anything else that you kind of wanted to touch on that? Is well, not the topic in general, but your initial statement.
No, I mean that's it. It's just it shouldn't be that way because, like I said, we had three green, white, checkered attempts, and it literally took forever. I mean, I think at one point I looked at my phone to see what time it was, and it was like 7:30, and the race was still going on. And
It's
I'm just like,
ridiculous. It was
why?
ridiculous.
Why are we doing this? But what are your thoughts on it?
A couple of things. I agree with everything that you said, but I also pose it as being at road courses. I'm down personally, and this is crazy. I thought I would never say this. Single file restarts. My thing is, if we're gonna and on every race, if they're just gonna nose dive bomb in there and bounce, it's exciting for us as fans. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I just, it's more exciting, obviously, for the double foul restarts. We enjoy that, and I think we brought it up. You brought it up in the group chat either this past week or the week before when I can't believe or even think about a time where they ever did single file restarts. It's just did not seem exciting at all. But I mean, we're starting to go on a trend where we're doing this every year when it comes to restarts at road courses, and it's just terrible. Really, no matter which one you're at. I think Watkins Glen is okay. It still happens there a little bit, but cars are most there. Cars are more likely to kind of, I guess, get away, and that call should not come out at Watkins Glen. I feel like compared to a COTA. I don't know. And listen, I think one of the good things about this is NASCAR can tweak rules just for road courses if they wanted to. It doesn't have to be single file restarts for every track, but for road courses, why not? I mean, you took away the stages. Look, NASCAR, try it. If it doesn't work, go back to it. But I guarantee you the racing will be a lot cleaner. And I would say probably 95% of the garage area and the drivers would appreciate that.
I mean, because you have to think about it, right? There's probably only one, and I mean, I very well could be wrong about this, but there's probably only one driver that was like really pissed about all the green, white checker that we had, and that was Tyler Reddick because he was leading, right? I mean,
Rightfully so.
like the other 39 drivers were probably like, all right, well, here's my chance to gain position. But at the end of the day, it just makes the product look bad. You know, I mean, because it's kind of one of those things where, and this is no shot towards NASCAR. This is no shot towards the drivers because they're the best in the world. I'm just looking at it like this. You have a relatively clean race for the first 66, 67 laps. And then those final GWCs, it's like they couldn't get it together, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I get it. Intensity is at an all-time high. You're trying to get as many positions as possible. But like at the end of the day, do it like gracefully, man. Like we're not just trying to run in there, play demolition derby and get spots. And that's what we basically saw. But at the end, also, here's my other, I guess, point on this. And I think it really does depend on what road course we go to. And I'll put it to you this way. The first turn at COTA looks to be one of the sharpest turns there.
By far. Right? Yeah.
Now, imagine if Sonoma, the first turn was that final turn that you had, right? Like that super paper clip turn. I think it's like turn 11 or turn 12, right? Like you would see so many accidents happen there. But guess what? Sonoma's first like major turn isn't until like turn 6. That's why they're able to really get going at Sonoma. I feel like Watkins Glen, yes, that first turn that you have there is pretty sharp, but it's so much space towards the left that if somebody gets knocked out, they're going off the track and it's not messing up anything.
I agree. Yeah.
So I really do think that it has something to do with the track and where everything is placed. Maybe they look to change things up. Maybe they look to put this the start finish line somewhere else so that you don't have that first turn pose those problems.
No, I agree 100%, man. I think that NASCAR has a lot of well, they should have a lot of ideas and different things that they can do to improve that. But something's got to be done because I mean, it just happens every year. Happens every year, and it feels like happens at almost every road course track. Now, granted, to you, like again with Watkins Glen, you have all that space where you're probably not going to run into that issue like you will here at COTA. So, no, I agree, man. Good topic. Good topic.
Appreciate it.
It's up to you, man. Wherever you want to go next, you the boss.
We're gonna save over under for the last because that's just what I like to do. Okay.
Well, let's just stay on the road courses then. The top five road course drivers currently. I'll go.
Do you want to do it like 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, or you just want to give your 5 through 1 now, and I give my 5 through 1?
We'll go 5, 5. You start off then.
No, you got it because it was your topic.
No, you go, bro.
Nope.
God.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna this. This was
tough.
All
right, I'll start.
5 was the toughest. I'll go. Ross Chastain at number 5. Yeah. Do you not like Ross Chastain?
No, I do. I just kind of and I can't even say it's too early on in his career because the guy that I'm gonna give it's very early on in his career. So okay, but now hold on. Are we talking active or are we talking all time?
Oh, we're talking active. Come on, yeah,
Ooh,
we're talking
buddy. Active. All right. Thank you for telling me that because I was about to be. I got Jeff Gordon on my list. He's not racing anymore. Okay. Ross Chastain 5. I like that. Yeah. Ooh, that's tough now, man. That is tough.
Yeah, that was my bad. I should have been more
all
specific.
Good. It's all good. I know who I have 1 through 3.
I had 1 through 4.
All right. Let me think about it. All right. So
I can go 5 through 1.
Nah.
Just so you can get an idea of who I have.
I'm gonna say Martin Truex Jr.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick. He's always up there, and look, he was up there this week as well. But
he had a shot at the win. Honestly, he was on the second row on those final restarts. He had a chance to. Man, Truex has not won a race in
I know,
50 races, man.
It's pretty bad.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So you 5, you have Chastain. 5, I have. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm changing my 5.
That's fine.
I'm changing my 5.
That's fine.
Because I now know who I have 1 through 4. So 5, I'm actually going to go with the guy who just won this week, and that's Tyler Reddick. I believe in the last 2 seasons, he has 3 road course victories.
He's a beast.
I mean, if he continues that, man, I mean, he might shatter some records. So I'm going to put Tyler Reddick at 5 right now. And then at 4, I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr.
All right, number 4 for me, I'm going to go Tyler Reddick. He's just so good, man. He's so talented, and I heard Denny talk about it on his podcast. Like they're in the same stuff, and he's just so much better than everybody. He was so much better, man. So much faster. So I'm gonna go Tyler Reddick, number 4. Number 3 for me, I'm gonna go with Kyle Larson. I think 3 and 2 are interchangeable for me, but I'm gonna go number 3, Kyle Larson.
At 3, I'm going Kyle Busch.
Good pick.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? Because I don't think we've seen Kyle Busch get a victory at a road course in the last maybe 3 or 4 years. But there was a time where it's like if he wasn't winning, he was right there competing for the win. Yeah. So I'm gonna go Kyle Busch at 3, and then I'll go ahead and go to 2, and I have Kyle Larson at 2.
Number 2, I got Chase Elliott. I just think one of the best out there, one of the best road course racers there are. He's in it every year, no matter what road course race it is. Number 1 for me is AJ Allmendinger. My man just dominates. Again, does he have the success that he probably should in the Cup? No, he doesn't. But, there's drivers that are really good at road courses that just don't win. So I'm going to go with AJ. He dominates in especially in the Xfinity series. But coming in here, I have to throw him in because even the equipment he's in, even in the past few years, he competes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that. I guess when I'm thinking AJ, I'm thinking, more Xfinity than Cup.
That's fair.
And I mean, that's not on him. He has a full-time ride now this year. So, but at one, I'm going Chase Elliott, man. I mean, Chase is literally. It's kind of scary to see that, right? Because in my opinion, when I look at all-time great drivers, I really feel like you need to check the boxes more on road courses than you do super speedways. Right, because we say it all the time. Super speedway is almost kind of like a coin flip. Yes, you have to have talent. You 100% do, but I feel like we've seen more random quote unquote people win at super speedways than we do road courses. Road courses, it's like you have to be on for 12 turns every lap for 70 laps. It's just so much that goes into it. And for Chase
Yeah.
Elliott, he's not even 30 yet, right?
I think he's like 28,
I,
27. He's super young.
I need to look and see what we have in regards to the most road course victories.
Chase Elliott's 27.
So I think it's Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon has 9 road course victories. Now, don't get me wrong, and this is no shot at the current drivers, but I would say we only went to like 2 road courses back in the day. So I would love to see like the Tony Stewarts and the Jeff Gordon, if they were able to race at 4 or 5 road courses a year, how many more wins would they have? But no, for Chase Elliott to have 7 road course victories already in his career, my man's about to shatter some crazy records, man.
Yeah, for sure. I could see Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson doing the same thing, man. Especially with to kind of to your point, I would rather be better at the road courses. Simple reason. Yeah, of course I want to win the 500, but I can probably luck my way into one. Not saying it's easy, but you never know. I have a better chance at that. And then the fact that road courses just seem there are way more of those on the schedule. And
And
I
I,
don't
I
know if
like
those are
that,
ever going
man.
to be. Yeah, me too. Me too.
I remember when they moved away, or not moved away, but when the schedule came out a few years ago, and we didn't just see Sonoma and Watkins Glen. We saw Sonoma, we saw Watkins Glen, we saw COTA, we saw Daytona Road Course. Like we saw all of these other road courses, and I just remember the majority of the fans weren't happy about it because they feel like you have to go around in circles. And don't get me, I love my oval racing, absolutely love it. But I honestly feel like road courses have given us some of the best races, some of the best finishes that we've ever seen. So I absolutely love having 6 road courses on the schedule.
I agree, man. I agree. All right, now you can pick where you want to go.
Not well, we're gonna go with your final topic of the manufacturer that you are most confident in 6 races through the season. So go ahead and lead that off.
I think for me, it's right now it's Chevy, and I'm not sure it's very close. I just think of the dominance of William Byron so far this year. I mentioned Alex Bowman earlier, how I feel like they're just continuing to finish in the top 10 each and every week. And then now you throw in a guy like Cal Busch at RCR. I mean, I just have a lot more confidence in Chevy, man. I think that so far they've shown that they've had the strongest cars, and I know coming into it, I know a lot of people were talking about Fords and Penske being strong this year, and we're obviously going to get mainly Joey Logano being super strong, but Stuart Haas Racing has struggled a lot this year. Ford in general has struggled a lot this year outside of Joey Logano. So yeah, man, I just think I think this is just the clear answer right now. Now, will that change going down the line? We'll see, but so far, there's no signs of that slowing up.
What have we seen? It's been 6 races so far, and Chevy has won 4 of the 6,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, to be honest with you, outside of Daytona, because I believe the top 3 were all. Well, no, I'm sorry. Chevrolet won Daytona. What were the races? Obviously, last week.
Yeah. So
The week before.
Yeah.
As far as
Byron
didn't win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was Tyler Reddick at COTA, and then Joey Logano at Atlanta.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, you look at the cars that were up there, right? Like you look at COTA, William Byron, damn sure could have won that race, right? You look at Atlanta, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano had strong cars, but I mean, if Kyle Larson wouldn't have gotten taken out by a Ford, he had a good chance of winning that race. So,
100%. Yeah,
it's just awesome to see Chevrolet being so dominant, and I'm going to have to agree with you. Chevrolet I'm the most confident in Chevrolet, and there's not a number two that's close. I just feel like I don't know, man. Chevrolet. I don't know if I've ever seen Chevrolet come out this strong in a season, and to have them win 4 out of the first 6. You're going to some racetracks that they're pretty good at coming up in the next 3 to 4 races. It wouldn't surprise me at all. We get to race 15 of the season, and Chevrolet already has 10 wins. So they're just that dominant this season, and to know that they're that dominant this season, and Chase Elliott hasn't raced in a few races. Kyle Larson has yet to get a win. I mean, we're basically seeing William Byron and Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch. Like, they are the ones who have been super strong so far. When Kyle Larson gets hot, when Chase Elliott comes back and he gets hot, it's a wrap, man.
I was about to say, man, thinking about it, in years past, it's always been Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson kind of leading Hendrick, and right now with Chase being out and Kyle Larson just not being able to get the finishes, those two guys and Alex Bowman and William Byron are just not. I mean, they're carrying Hendrick right now, and they're doing so in a respectable and really dominant fashion each week, getting top 10 finishes, and William Byron getting those 2 wins. So I just think about if they can keep this up when Chase comes back and Larson starts to put together their finishes. Man, Hendrick could be scary. I mean, having all 4 teams this strong, I know we're still so early in the season, but we didn't get this out of Alex Bowman and William Byron last year. So
I agree.
Good to see.
Don't get me wrong. I understand the penalties were warranted that they received, but it's kind of crazy to see. It's like, I guess that's what's going to have to slow them down, right?
Yeah, well,
at least the Hendrick can't, but it doesn't look like that's happening right now. If anything, it lit a fire under that group to put even more of a show on. So it's pretty awesome to see.
That's what the other teams needed. So
yeah. All right, man. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Over under. I have 3 over unders to go over today, and I will give a little context as to why these numbers were picked. So the first one, we are starting with Martin Truex Jr. We talked about him a little earlier on in the show. Had a chance to win a COTA. A little bad luck happened. He hasn't won in about 50 races, which is very un-Martin Truex like. So this week we go to Richmond. And I didn't realize this, but Martin Truex Jr. has been very dominant at Richmond, especially over the last 8 races. So looking at the last 8 races at Richmond, he has 3 wins, 7 top 5s, and 8 top 10s. Absolutely ridiculous. That's an average finish of 3rd. But I kind of threw us both a bone and went up a little bit on that. So over under, Martin Truex finishes 5.5.
Yeah, I got to go under. I mean, it's just when you do this 8 straight times at a track, that's a trend. That is I wake up out of bed and I do this in my sleep type of thing. And I think he's going to do the exact same thing. And I think we talked about it last year. We knew he was kind of pretty damn good at Richmond, and we thought he was going to get his first win at Richmond, and that didn't come. But I think that he has put together some runs this year, but has not been able to really get the finishes. I think he finished 3rd in one race or a top 5 in one race.
Yeah, I think it was like at Richmond last year, are you talking about Richmond last year?
No, just in general this year.
Oh, for this year? Yeah, no. I mean, this year definitely hasn't been that good for Martin Truex Jr.
He had one good finish, and we kind of pointed it out.
Let me see. I'm gonna tell you in 1 second. Here we go. So right now, yeah, he only has 1 top 10 on the season, no top 5s, and he got that top 10 at Las Vegas where he finished 7th.
Okay. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But yeah, I just think Martin Truex is going to come in here and have a really good race like he always does, and I think he's going to get a top 10 or top 5 finish.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm going with the under as well. Even in a down year for Truex last year, he still got 2 top 10s last year at Richmond. I believe he had a top 5 as well. And I just see more of the same happening. We'll get to another over-under topic that I have, but JGR in general is very good there. And knowing that this is his last season with JGR, I know that he's ready to get the monkey off of his back, try to get a win early on in the season so that he can go ahead and clinch a playoff spot. I think he has a very, very good chance of doing that this week at Richmond. But if he doesn't get the win, I'm very confident that he gets the top 5. So I'm going with the under for Martin Truex Jr. Another one that we joke around a lot about, but it's very accurate. We rarely see cautions at Richmond. That's if they went no stage cautions or stage breaks at Richmond, we very well could get all 400 laps done under one green flag. I have it set right now at 3.5. And the reason that I have it at 3.5, and numbers can get skewed, but when I looked at the last 5 races at Richmond, and this is for the spring race at Richmond, this is taking out taking out stage breaks. We had 3, 2, 2, 4, and 7. That's how many cautions we had if you take the stage breaks out. So you take that 7 out and you give the normal 3, it would be very low. But I'm just going to stick at 3.5 right now. Over under 3.5 cautions without the stage breaks for Richmond this week.
Under. No context. We're going under.
I'm shaking my head in agreement. I'm with you, man. I truly believe that we will. Oh, gosh, man. Now, here's one thing I'm holding out hope on. They talked about it when we went to Phoenix that there's a new package that they're using on short tracks that I don't know. It's supposed to make the cars more racier. So we're going to get a very good idea of what that looks like at Richmond. Gosh, man. Nobody wants to see somebody wreck and potentially get hurt, but having a long green flag run does get boring when the cars just get so spaced out. So I'm holding out hope that it's going to be over, but I'm going with the under 3.5 for cautions. So there's that. All right, final one for the over under, and that is talking about the Joe Gibbs Racing Bunch. So I have it set right now. Over under 2.5 JGR cars finish in the top 10. So in the last 3 races at Richmond, all 4 drivers have finished in the top 10 in each of those races. So to say Richmond is a good track for JGR is an understatement. Put it at 2.5 just because if you say over for 3.5, you're thinking Ty Gibbs is going to make it.
Yeah.
So over under.
I'm going under. Well, no, that would be over. No, I'm going over. Because I have Truex, Bell, and Hamlin finishing in the top 10. Hamlin's very good at this track. Bell has been on a very hot streak outside of when I pick him. And then Martin Truex Jr., we talked about his dominance, man. So I'm going to go with the over on this. And, hell, Ty Gibbs might get his 3rd top 10 finish in a row.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm going with the over as well. JGR is just so strong there. Denny Hamlin, that's his home track. You know, he's always trying to put on a show there. Christopher Bell over the past couple races has been very good at Richmond. And then as we talked about Truex earlier on, 8 straight top 10 finishes there with 3 wins. I'm going with the over 2.5 for JGR at Richmond this weekend. So that's it.
That's it, man. That's it. Good topics as always. Now it's time to dive into the Richmond review.
Before we jump into the Richmond preview, can we take a look at the season standings right now?
Yes.
As you can see, William Byron still holding that number 1 spot with the 2 wins. And you have Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, and Ricky Stenhouse, the other drivers with wins. Ross Chastain, solid finish at COTA this weekend. If we weren't looking at playoff points and playoff standings and we were just looking at the point standings, Ross Chastain is actually first in the point standings. So that's something to keep an eye out on. Kevin Harvick 7th, Christopher Bell 8th, Ryan Blaney 9th, Austin Cindric top 10. You look over here to 11 through 20, of course, 11 through 16. Then you have the cutoff 17 to 20. Truex, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Daniel Suarez, and Corey LaJoie still holding into that top 16.
Yeah, that's
I
what
love
sticks out to me, man.
I absolutely love that, man. And then you look you take the 100 points away from Alex Bowman, and he's still having so strong of a season that he's only 13 points out.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were to give him those 100 points, he'd be right under Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
I just think that is absolutely amazing. Michael McDowell, 18th, Ty Gibbs, 19th, and Bubba Wallace, 20th. So I heard you say Corey LaJoie definitely sticks out to you being in the top 16. Is there anybody else, good or bad, that sticks out to you looking at these playoff standings?
Not really. I think that these drivers, like Bubba Wallace, is obviously a stick out, but we know that he got, had problems these past two races, so I'm not concerned about him. I would say I'm kind of surprised to see Austin Cindric there sitting at number 10. I didn't think that he would have a good year, but outside of that, man, no, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
I'm gonna tell you a driver that sticks out to me, and I feel like we've seen this in back-to-back years. Denny Hamlin, right? Like, I understand we're only 6 races in. Denny Hamlin is in the top 16, but he's 13th, plus 35 points from the cutoff. I don't know, man. I feel like last year we looked at it and Denny Hamlin had a very slow start to the season. And if I'm not mistaken, his first win was going to be Pocono, but that got taken away because of the post-race inspection last year. And I just kind of feel like we're kind of seeing the same start of last year for this year for Denny Hamlin. And I think we're very comfortable in saying Denny Hamlin will make it to the playoffs, but what if he doesn't, man? What if somehow Joe Gibbs gets hit with one of those points? What am I trying to say?
No, I get
what Hendrick had. They got the points
penalty
taken away. The penalty. Why could not think of the word penalty? Ridiculous. But no, if JGR were to get hit with a penalty like that, and Denny Hamlin loses 100 points or so, and it's just like a lot of things can happen in the season, and Denny Hamlin, of course, going to a great track this weekend for him at Richmond. It'd be nice to see him in victory lane, but he just really sticks out because you're expecting to see Denny Hamlin for the most part in about the top 5 or 6 of the standings throughout the year.
I agree, man. He's definitely off to a slow start again, but like you said, a lot of confidence that he'll kind of bounce back and make the playoffs, but what a story that would be if he did not. Yeah. Let's go ahead and dive into our pick'ems really quick. There it is. We're gonna go ahead. There it is. That's really all we.
I couldn't see. Could you keep it right there for? Okay, I was just trying to see what we. Okay, got you. Wow.
49 to 102. My two drivers just did literally the past 3 weeks have just been absolutely terrible. Cody's done a really good job at picking them, and of course, I have a good feeling he's gonna get another damn top 10 finish this week.
Yeah, knock on wood. I hope so, man. That's gonna be awesome. Do you want to go ahead and just look at our race picks? There it is. All right, I'm going with Christopher Bell. And what I like about this, though, is we talked about it a few minutes ago with the dominance of Martin Truex Jr. at Richmond, at JGR at Richmond, and we both pick JGR drivers. I'm going Christopher Bell to get that first win of the season this year at a track that he does really well out at. And Mike, you have Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, man, I'm going with Denny Hamlin. We talked about his early season struggles, but good for him. Richmond comes early, and he is going to get this dub, man. I feel very confident in that. I feel very confident in betting on a JGR driver this week.
100%, man. And I really wish that we could see FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever you play. I would love to be able to see more bets being able to be placed. Like, you can, all right. So like, horse racing, right? Yeah. Horse racing, they have like the exacta, the trifecta, all that stuff. And I don't really know how all that works, but it would be cool if you were able to parlay, like, you know what? I think Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Ross Chastain get top 5s at Richmond this week. It'd be awesome to be able to parlay something like that and see what the winnings would be, but you can't really do that right now. Hopefully things change in the future. Let's take a look. One thing we didn't look at yet is our power rankings real quick. This is through COTA, so the 6th race out of 36 so far this season. I have William Byron at 1 because, again, he has 2 wins this year, almost had a third this week at COTA. Kyle Busch at 2. He's been so consistent this year. And I almost feel like he's not being talked about as much. And it's kind of weird to say that, especially with him being on a brand new team. Maybe everybody did all the talking over the offseason about him because he went to this new team. But Kyle Busch at 2 for me. Tyler Reddick, I have him in my top 5, in my top 3 for the first time this year. Just seeing what he's done over the past 3 races. I believe he has 3 top 5s and 1 win over these last 3 races. That's awesome to see. Christopher Bell sitting at 4. He's been probably one of the most consistent drivers this year. And then speaking of consistency, Alex Bowman sitting at 5. He's been very consistent this year as well. So there are my power rankings through COTA this year. Mike, what are you looking at?
Pretty much the same thing outside of one driver, and that's William Byron. Ross Chastain for me, where you had Alex Bowman, and we kind of talked about that. They're kind of neck and neck if Alex Bowman were to get them points back. So you can't really argue the difference between those two guys, both having great seasons. I have William Byron at number 1, Kyle Busch at number 2, Christopher Bell at number 3, Ross Chastain at 4, and the man that is on the move, Mr. Tyler Reddick at number 5.
Yes, sir. There we go. Let's take a look at the past Richmond winners, and then we'll actually really get into the preview of Richmond. So these are the past 5 spring winners at Richmond. In 2022, we saw Denny Hamlin get the dub. Alex Bowman in 2021. They were off in 2020 because of COVID. So 2019, we had Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch in 2018, and Joey Logano in 2017. So I'll tell you right now, one thing that we have seen when looking at the past drivers to win at the races that they're going to that upcoming week, we've seen a lot of the same driver on there, right? We've seen drivers they won in 2022 and they won in 2020. You're not seeing the same driver on this list at all. You're seeing a variation of drivers, and I just think that speaks to Richmond in general. Richmond, outside of it seemed like the late 2000s and early 2010s when it was either Jimmy Johnson or Kyle Busch winning the race, you don't really see that often anymore. And I love that. I love being able to go to Richmond and not really knowing who is going to win that race because there are a lot of dominant drivers there. Anything stick out to you?
Not really. I think that you kind of hit the nail on the coffin, just a variety of different drivers. I will say the one thing that does stick out, and obviously we talked about it, was the dominance of JGR because obviously with Kyle Busch winning in 2018, that gives JGR 3 out of the 5 wins over the past 5 years. So, yeah, man, I think a lot of the same is going to happen. So let's kind of dive into Richmond. We know that Richmond is a green flag race, and we kind of put the bet in that it was going to kind of be the same thing. So yeah, man, I think it's going to be very interesting. Again, I think one of the big things that plays a factor in Richmond, what makes Richmond so interesting outside of really nothing else, just the pit strategies at Richmond and how much those play a factor in the outcome of the race. Because you get those green flag runs, you gotta play the pit strategy. And I will say, I feel like the past few years, we haven't really seen anybody dominate too much. And if we did see them dominate coming down towards the end, although there would be a bunch of lap cars, 1 and 2 would be fairly close to each other. So the ending of the race, we always got some type of excitement, maybe not that last lap pass that you would expect, but 1 and 2 were always, for the most part, fairly close. So I'm kind of expecting a little bit of the same.
If I'm not mistaken, the summer race that Kevin Harvick won last year, I want to say Christopher Bell was like
dominating,
chasing
right?
him down. Wasn't he chasing him down though?
You're right. Yep. You're right. You're exactly right. I know exactly.
It was. I don't know if it was like a pitch strategy that helped Kevin Harvick get out to the lead, but
it was, and it was so close. Like
if it was like 4 more laps, Christopher Bell would have caught him and won that race. So I do like seeing that. While of course there's majority green flag laps, no cautions. When you do get people on different pit strategies and you get all the cars spaced out, lap traffic plays a part into everything. It is fun to see that cat and mouse game being played, seeing that driver who might be on 10 to 15 laps fresher tires just working all the way through the field trying to catch up to the driver in first. So that's pretty awesome. But I will say this one thing that I'm really hoping for, one thing I'm really looking forward to, as I brought up about that new package that we're going to be running at these short tracks. I'm hoping this package allows multiple grooves on this track because there's nothing. And we saw this in the summer race.
We did,
where there were some drivers that were running the high line and they were getting crazy runs coming out of two that was allowing them to pass cars. And of course, I know weather plays a factor in that, the heat or what have you. And I know it's not supposed to be warm or that warm this weekend, but if we can get multiple grooves in this track that allows you to pass in either one, it should make for a good race. So my fingers are crossed on that.
Yeah, man, I hope so. I mean, it's we get 2 a year for now, and I just want it to be a lot more interesting, man. I want it to be a lot more interesting. So really looking forward to Richmond, man. And can't wait for Sunday. So
yes, sir.
All right, appreciate everybody tuning in to episode 25 of the 4Y podcast. We hope you enjoyed COTA. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we hope you enjoy Richmond, and it's not a snooze fest. So we will talk to y'all next week.